Hello, my name is Zachary Hogan, also known as IZXTG, and I'm here from Start Trading. And with this video, this is a weekly outlook for April 23rd to the 28th, 2017. We're here on Forex Factory, and just to make a note, we have the Euro-French presidential election coming up. It's going to be happening all day today. And then depending on what happens, there could be even more news coming up later in the beginning of May. If we look forward, we do have the German IFO business climate coming out at 4 a.m. Eastern. We have some FOMC members speaking in the afternoon, as well as bank holidays on the New Zealand dollar and the Australian dollar. And then moving forward into Tuesday, we also have an Italian bank holiday. In the morning for Tuesday, we have the CB Consumer Confidence, which basically it's an index based off of surveyed households, and traders care simply because it is a leading indicator of consumer spending, and that's very important. So moving into the evening, we've got some AUD news, there's CPI. And then fast forward to Wednesday, we have core retail sales in the morning for the CAD, followed by crude oil inventories for the US dollar, and sometime in the afternoon we will have the Governor Lowe speaking for the RBA on the Australian dollar. The Japanese yen monetary policy statement, as well as their policy rate on the Japanese yen from Wednesday leading into Thursday, early Thursday morning. This could cause a lot of volatility, so really just make sure you're prepared for that. And then they are hosting, the Bank of Japan is hosting a press conference at 2:30 a.m. In the morning, we have the European minimum bid rate. This is their interest rate decision. So this again could cause a lot of volatility in the morning. And then we do have the European Central Bank having a press conference, most likely just to follow up on the interest rates, as well as some news on the USD. For Friday, it does seem like a pretty tame day leading up into the early morning, where we have the British pound preliminary GDP, and then we also have the GDP for the CAD and the US dollar in the early morning. And that's really all that there is for news. Let's go ahead, let's hop onto the charts, and let's take a look at what could potentially be happening on some of our favorite currency pairs that we've been looking at and following for the last weeks. Now, we're looking at the US dollar Canadian here on the daily chart, and our weekly target was not actually achieved, but we're sitting right at our bearish confirmation level from last week. So I'm going to say that this whole 135 range is still very appropriate for any bearish reversal that we could potentially get. I'm going to go ahead and just update that accordingly. And I mean, the weekly target, I'm still bullish on this asset. It wouldn't surprise me though if we get a little bit of bearish movement, but I'm looking at the 1363 area, and this is basically about 130 pips to the upside from where we are right now. It's just above this last area of supply that we had here, so we'll just have to pay attention once we get up to that 136 psychological zone. And any bullish confirmation in the event where we get a pullback, I would be looking at the whole 133.2. It seems like there was quite a bit of trading activity happening in here. That's where we got our nice rejection to push price to the upside. And it's just overall looking like a very solid level. Our bullish price level of interest, I am going to leave that at 136. And for our bearish price level of interest, I'm going to leave that at 1.3. Let's go ahead, let's hop on over to the US dollar and the Japanese yen. Check out what's happening. As you can see, we got a nice little reversal for about 70-80 pips on our potential reversal zone that we made a note of last week, and I still feel like this could be a very relevant zone, more or less. our bullish confirmation zone. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to move that. I'm going to actually just adjust our old bullish confirmation level right up to the 1084, and then we can see what happens with that. Now, with this pair in particular, I do have a bearish outlook, but for this week, it would not surprise me if we do get some more bullish movement, perhaps even up to this whole 110 zone. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to update the weekly target accordingly. And I feel it could be powerful to set this right at our 110 psychological zone. It's about 90 pips to the upside, so we'll really just have to see what happens with that. The bearish confirmation, I mean, I still feel like this 110.25 is a very powerful level. We've got a lot of orders in here potentially that are still open, and you know, this candle right here, how this formed in these few days of trading, that is what indicated the downtrending to me, and it would not surprise me again to see eventually our 1055, the 107, all of this range tested and traded within. But before that, I do feel as if the market is going to give us a little bit of bullish indication first. Price levels of interest, I am going to just leave as is. And we're going to go ahead, we're going to hop on over to the British pound and the US dollar now. Our weekly target was exceeded this week. You can see that we opened the week right here, and then on the 18th, we had a little bit of bearish movement right on down into filling this gap basically, and then all the way up for over 400 pips. This was a awesome day. This was when Prime Minister Theresa May actually announced the early election that's going to be happening. So that caused a lot of momentum in the markets, and I was doing some in-depth analysis on this with one of my students, and you know, we are still bullish at this time on the British pound as a individual currency. What we could say looking at this for this upcoming week, I would feel as if we are looking for another large movement to the upside, similar to this, but we will have to see obviously. But I'm looking all the way up at the 129.7 level. That's right back here. We had a lot of trading, if we were just to scroll to the left a little bit, all in this whole range. So it would not surprise me. The high of the candle just basically started to come into all of this, the 129 psychological level, and this was a very impulse move. Some of this happened within minutes, but the overall trading, if we were to go and look on the hourly, happened over the span of, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. And then it just kind of consolidated for the rest of the week within a nice little range. So still very, very bullish on this. And, you know, I've had that outlook. I'm still looking for, in the next 3 to 5 years even, the British pound dollar to be trading at 1.7 even. And we're going to go ahead, we're going to update our confirmation zones to reflect this bullish sentiment. For any bullish confirmation that we get, I feel like it would be reasonable to see price come back down and test our weekly target at the 1263. And for any bearish confirmation that we could get, I mean, realistically speaking, the 130 would be a very powerful zone. That is a little bit above our weekly target. So where else could we be looking for a potential bullish bearish confirmation? In the event where we come back up to this whole 128.5 level, I would really start paying attention, because at this point we are going to be getting back into what was happening in this wick. The 129 level, if we do get up there, I would personally be expecting either a little bit of an impulse move to the upside or the rejection at that point, since it would be the psychological level time. Remember, if we do get to trading around the 129 area again, don't be surprised if price pushes up another 10 or 20 pips. Just be prepared for that. Make sure that you have your risk management. But at this time, I'm still looking for more movement to the upside. Let's hop over to the Australian dollar and the USD. On this pair, within the last week, we did have quite a lot of action. We went just a little bit beyond our bullish confirmation zone. If we were to come onto the daily here, you can see we started off the week, we almost achieved our target, and then we just had a lot of bearish movement right on down to the whole 749 level. So with what happened last week, I still am bullish on this. But I do feel like we are setting up for a larger movement potentially with how price has been trading on this. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to update the weekly target to reflect that, get right back up into this whole area of supply that we were trading at. With this red zone, I feel as if we start to push up into the zone, that price could potentially just fly right through it. So any bearish confirmation that we get, I'm still looking right at this whole 762 level. And on the bullish confirmation side, if we do happen to get another movement to the downside, I would be really paying attention to the 748. Just right where all these wicks are. It does seem as if we have a valid area of demand down here, so just pay attention to what happens. If we wanted to go and if we wanted to look on the weekly here, we can see that we had a little bit of a bearish week, but overall it wasn't too significant, and we almost ended off at the top of our whole area of demand. So this is about a 30 to 40 pip range. So again, just pay attention. You got to stay on top of it. I have bullish sentiment, and our price levels of interest I'm going to leave as is, because the 7,800 and the 734 areas are still very valid in my opinion. Now, for the NZDUSD, again, this is another asset I feel is setting up for a larger movement. If we go ahead and if we hop onto the daily here, we can see we've just been kind of trading within a very consolidated range for the entire week. And what I could be looking for this week is a bullish confirmation right at the 697 area, but again, it would not surprise me if we push a little bit beyond that into the 695, come back, touch the top of these wicks, and then continue our movement to the upside. For the weekly target, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to leave it at 7,200 because I feel like there is not much supply within this entire mix all the way up until we get back to the psychological zone. It is about 170 pips to the upside, so just pay attention to what's happening. And our price levels of interest, I feel like they are still relevant. Our bearish confirmation, you know, again, the 72.2, just be aware that if you are in buys, it could reverse at this time, and of course just follow risk management as always. The last thing that I want to look at is the EURUSD. We are moving quite beautifully on this asset. We didn't necessarily achieve the weekly target. We came right up, right below the whole 108 zone of supply that we had here, and we still had a little bit of an upside movement to finish off the week. So it would not surprise me to see a gap to the downside with the election today, depending on what happens, obviously, and depending on how many people were entering or exiting positions in the after hours trading. But for the weekly target, what I'm going to say is I'm still looking for a little bit more bullish movement, but we are going to adjust it and move it a little bit higher to the upside. So where could we be looking for some confirmations? Any bearish confirmation that we would get, I think would happen right within this whole 108 range. And for our bullish confirmation, I am going to go ahead, I'm going to move this up to the 106.6. Because if we do get a gap down into here, or even a little bit below that to the 106.4, I will be looking for buys at that time because that would be quite a significant gap. It would be about, just so we can have accuracy, I'll use the tool here. I would be about 70 to 80 pips potentially, and we'll really just have to see what happens with this obviously in the week, and just pay attention to it as always. My name is Zachary, and you can feel free to reach out to me via email. Make sure that you like the video if you found it helpful, and of course remember to subscribe to the channel so you can get access to future weekly updates as well as additional trainings that I will be releasing. Head on over to the official Start Trading website and check out our personal mentorship plans. And with that, I wish you safe and happy trading in the last week of April 2017. This is ZXTG Socially.